Hello, today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to change a original architecture photo. So let's open this one. And how to change it into a reflected image. So let's open this one. Okay. So the tutorial will show you how to transform this image into something similar to this. So let's close these images down and then I'll show you how to do it. So this image that I'm manipulating is 15 centimeters high and 10 centimeters wide, and so I'm going to make a document that's going to be twice as high and twice as wide. So File, New, make sure it says Custom, change the pixels to centimeters. So as I said, we're going to make the width 20 centimeters. We're going to make the height 30 centimeters, resolution 300. Okay. Then we're going to go to File and Place or Place Embed, whichever one is on your computer. We're going to go and pick up Barbican 7 and place it. Now I've already edited this in Nik Silver FX, so what I suggest you do is you edit it first before you change it into a reflected image. Now I'm going to place it in the bottom bottom right hand corner. Down here. Okay, so I'll place that. At this point, what I would do is I would just go to View and just check that your snap to isn't ticked. So if there's a tick next to either, I will just untick them, okay, at this point. Right, so what we do next is we go, what I would do is I'd go in on my magnifying glass a little bit, maybe just one click. I would go to this icon here and draw a box around it. Then edit and copy, edit, paste. Okay, so if you go to your drag tool, you're able to drag your second copy. And then what we need to do with it is to go to edit and transform and flip that horizontally. Okay. And then using the drag tool, you should be able to place the image carefully together. Now, I probably now go in one more click again on the magnifying glass and then carefully manipulate that into place. Okay. Right, so I think I'll probably zoom out. So there's the minus. Okay. Next thing we need to do is basically repeat the process. I can just see there, can you see that it's like a little bit uneven? So I'm just going to move that back so it's pretty even. It is worth making sure that it's correct at this stage because you don't want to end up with tiny sort of little white lines, okay, and then you have to try and get rid of them later. Alright, so let's zoom out a bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is paste again. Okay, so that's my third version. I am going to edit and transform and flip vertically. Go to my drag tool and then drag that into place. Trying to get it as close as possible. Okay, so I'm going to go again in on my magnifying glass, back to my drag tool, and just making sure that it's as closely lined up as possible. Okay, and then finally back to edit and paste. And then for this last one, I need to go to transform, and I'm going to have to do both. So I'm going to flip it horizontally first of all, and then back to transform, and then vertically. Okay. The drag tool, and then manipulate this last little shape into place. So I'm just checking to make sure that everything is pretty even. So now, if I click on the magnifying glass, if I right click, actually I can just put it on fit to screen. Okay. So now what we need to do is just to make sure that we're going to be cropping out all the extra bits and pieces that we don't need. There is like a faint, white line kind of running down the center. But if you've got that in your, like as part of your image anyway, then it is going to show up. So it's up to you to crop any sort of unwanted bits and pieces around the edges, okay? Because even if you've got the like a tiny white line going down, once you start to put it into this kind of format, then if you don't want it to be part of the design, then you don't want it to be spending ages and ages working on, editing it out. Okay. So at this point, what we need to do is flatten. Okay. So actually flattening the image has flattened out those little white lines, but sometimes if you do have like if it's part of the design, you're not going to be able to get rid of them, so it's best to crop them out to start with. Now, we have got like just a little extra white line around there, so I think what I might do is just zoom out a bit. I would crop, but without putting any of these any dimensions in. Okay, and this is important, especially with the snap and snap 2, that they're not ticked, because you want to be able to just pull in like a tiny amount. So let's crop that into there. I think what I'm looking for is how even it is on either side. So if I tick that, let's just go back onto the drag tool, then you can see I'm looking to see whether it's symmetrical. There's a little tiny line around here, so I might just go back in and see if I can just bring maybe that in a small bit. Okay, so I think yes, I'm quite happy with that. And then it's up to you whether you want to place a thin black border around it. Although if you're going to put it onto an InDesign document, then you won't need it. But obviously if you were just going to put it onto your Tumblr, then you might consider doing that. So that's it. All we need to do is go to image, image size. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make it the size of the InDesign document. So it's going to be 15 high and 10 wide, resolution of 300. You can see that these aren't changing because my constraint proportion box isn't ticked. If I was to tick that constraint proportion, and now I was trying to do it, so if I change the width to 10, okay, the height would automatically change to the same proportion because the constraint proportions is ticked. You untick it, and then you can change one of the dimensions, and then the other one will stay exactly the same. But you have to be quite wary of that, because sometimes it just makes it completely out of proportion. But I think it's such a tiny margin there that should be okay. That's it. And then File and Save As. And I'll just call it Reflection 2. Save that to my desktop. Okay. And that's it. And that will be ready to upload to your architecture scene. And that's the end of the tutorial.